When the dawn mist settles over the heaths of Drenthe or the forests of Gelderland, it moves like breath, slow, alive, remembering. In that moment between darkness and day, when sound is muffled and the air hangs heavy, old people still lower their voices. "Don't wander into the fog," they whisper. "The Witte Wieven are abroad." Origins in the Old World. Before churches rang their bells across the Netherlands, before the land was cut by canals and dikes, the people of the Low Countries lived close to the rhythms of nature. The soil was sacred, and the spirits of ancestors were believed to sleep beneath the high sandy mounds scattered across the moors. Out of this ancient landscape grew the tales of the Witte Wieven, literally white women, but also wise women. For in Old Dutch, the word wit meant not only the color of light, but also brightness, understanding, insight. In their earliest form, the Witte Wieven were human, not ghostly. They were the herbalists, midwives and seers of early rural communities. They read the weather by the flight of birds and the scent of rain, and they kept the memory of older gods when the new faith arrived. People sought their help in secret, a charm for childbirth, a salve for fever, a whisper to ease grief. But power, especially a woman's power, has always drawn suspicion. When the church tightened its hold on the countryside, the Witte Wieven were branded witches. Some vanished into the wilderness. Others were driven from their villages. When they died, legend says, their souls clung to the places where they had once been revered. The wind itself carried their voices, and the mist became their cloak. Mist made flesh. With each generation, the stories changed. By the Middle Ages, the Witte Wieven were no longer healers, but spirits of the mist, haunting the burial mounds that dotted the heathlands. Peasants swore they could see them on autumn nights, tall women in flowing white garments, their faces hidden, gliding just above the ground. In some villages, they were called the Weeping Ones, for they were said to cry for the wisdom lost when their bodies turned to dust. In others, they were guardians of the dead, keeping watch over ancient graves and punishing those who dared to steal from them. Travelers who mocked the old ways or trampled sacred ground might hear laughter from the fog and never return. Yet, not all tales painted them darkly. There are stories of farmers who left offerings of milk and bread at the edge of the heath and were rewarded with healthy cattle and full harvests. One legend from Lucum in Gelderland tells of a young shepherd lost in the mist. A Witte Wief appeared, took his hand, and led him safely home. When he turned to thank her, she was gone, leaving only the scent of wild thyme and the impression of a barefoot step in the dew. The places they dwelt across the Netherlands, certain sites still bear their name. De Witte Wievenkuil, near Lochem, Hollow said to be the mouth of their world, where mist gathers thick as wool at dawn. De Witte Wievenbult in Yvde, a mound where people once left coins or bread to appease the spirits. Het Witte Vrouwtje van Schoenebeek in Drenthe, who appears beside a pond at midnight, singing to the moon. Such places are quiet now, overgrown with heather and birch, but villagers still tell their children not to whistle there after dark. The belief may be half forgotten, yet the habit of respect remains. What they represent. To scholars of folklore, the Witte Wieven are echoes of an ancient European archetype, the ancestral spirit woman, guardian of thresholds and seasons. Similar figures appear across the continent. The Weissefrauen of Germany, the Dame Blanches of France, the Celtic banshee who cries between life and death. All are veiled in white, all linger at the edge of the living world. But the Dutch version has its own texture: damp soil, heathland wind, the low murmur of frogs at night. The Witte Wieven are tied to the land itself. They embody memory, not only of individuals, but of the land's ancient consciousness. When people plowed too deep, drained too much, or forgot the sacredness of the old hills, the Wieven were said to rise in anger. In this way, they became symbols of nature's balance, warning that the earth does not forget neglect or arrogance. Stories of warning and wonder. Many tales collected in the 19th century preserve both fear and reverence. One from Drenthe tells of a miller who mocked the spirits, claiming they were nothing but fog. That night, a white woman appeared at his door. She offered him a single gold coin and said, "If you can keep this till sunrise, it is yours." Greedy, he hid it under his pillow. But when morning came, His bed was full of ash. Another story from Veluwe speaks of a bride who disappeared on her wedding night. Her husband found her standing in the mist, staring at a mound where the Witte Wieven were dancing. When he called to her, she turned, her eyes empty, her dress wet with dew. She whispered, "They showed me what I forgot." No one saw her again, but sometimes, when the fog settles thick, villagers hear a woman's voice singing a bridal song that ends in a sigh. Not all endings are grim. In Drenthe, a tale survives of a girl named Annika, who left milk for the Witte Wieven each new moon. When illness struck her family, she went to the mound and begged for help. The next morning, her father was healed, and in the churn house she found her empty milk bowl filled with honey. "They remember kindness," her grandmother said. "Always remember them in return." The scholar's view. Modern historians see in these tales the slow transformation of cultural memory. The shift from wise woman to white ghost mirrors the tension between pagan and Christian Europe, between knowledge of the earth and fear of its mystery. The Witte Wieven, they argue, are what happens. When wisdom is exiled but not destroyed, it lingers, turning luminous and strange. Linguists note that the word wit once meant bright, not the pale absence of color we think of today. In that sense, the Witte Wieven are not women drained of life, but women of light, shining figures who illuminate hidden truths. Even their mist, that veil between worlds, becomes a metaphor for transition. Life to death, ignorance to understanding, disrespect to reverence. The Witte Wieven, today. Though few now believe in them literally, the Witte Wieven remain woven into Dutch identity. Their names grace cafes and walking trails. Artists paint them as protectors of the landscape. Storytellers revive them at midsummer festivals. In some towns, candlelight walks to the old mounds recall the offerings once left there. Modern environmentalists sometimes call them the spirits of balance, linking their legend to the protection of wetlands and heaths that still blanket parts of the country. After all, the fog that hides the Witte Wieven is born of those same bogs and streams. To guard the land is, in a way, to honor them. And in quiet hours, when the sky is low and gray, even skeptics admit the air feels different, thicker, watchful. The mind plays tricks perhaps, but perhaps not. One might see movement in the corner of an eye, a wisp of white, the curve of a shoulder, a hand parting the mist. The old instinct returns. Lower your voice, step softly. Offer a greeting to the unseen. Eternal as the mist. The Witte Wieven endure because they speak to something timeless, the tension between fear and wonder, between the known and the mysterious. They remind us that every landscape holds memory, that wisdom forgotten can become a haunting. When the fog rolls over the moor and the world feels hollowed of sound, listen. You may hear the faintest singing, not mournful, not kind, simply ancient. It is the sound of the Witte Wieven keeping watch, guardians of stories, of soil, of silence. They are the breath of the Netherlands itself, soft, white, and full of secrets.